You know what's fascinating? When Bill Gates was asked what he'd change if he could go back in time, he didn't say invest in Amazon earlier or buy more real estate. He said he'd read more books as a young person. The world's wealthiest individuals understand something crucial. The books we read as children shape how we think as adults, and they're very intentional about what their kids consume. Today, I'm sharing 9 books that billionaires actually give their children to read, and why these specific titles matter. Book 1, Oh, the Places You'll Go, by Dr. Seuss. Warren Buffett has been known to give this book not just to his own family, but to graduates and young people he mentors. Now you might think, really, a children's book from a billionaire? But here's the thing. Buffett gave this exact book to his grandson when he graduated from college, with a personal note inside about embracing both success and failure. The book's message about resilience, navigating life's ups and downs, and maintaining optimism aligns perfectly with Buffett's own investment philosophy. He's faced market crashes, failed investments, and criticism, yet he kept going. This seemingly simple children's book contains the psychological foundation for long-term thinking, something Buffett credits as essential to building wealth. Book 2, The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Mark Zuckerberg chose this as one of the first books to read to his daughter Max. He even posted about it on Facebook, saying it reminded him to look at the world through a child's eyes. Here's a real moment. When Zuckerberg was building Facebook, he was known for his move fast and break things mentality. But The Little Prince teaches something different. The importance of relationships, seeing what's invisible to the eye, and understanding that the essential things in life aren't material. For a man who built an empire on connection, this book grounds his children in the idea that technology should serve humanity, not replace human connection. The prince's journey across planets mirrors the journey of understanding what truly matters in life versus what seems important. Book 3, Business Adventures by John Brooks. Bill Gates has called this his favorite business book of all time. Warren Buffett recommended it to him back in 1991, and Gates later bought copies for his children when they became teenagers. This book contains 12 stories about American businesses, including the Ford Edsel disaster and Xerox's rise. What makes it powerful is that it shows failure and success aren't opposites, they're part of the same process. Gates specifically mentioned that the chapter on the 1962 stock market crash taught him more about market psychology than anything else. He wanted his kids to understand that business isn't just about innovation, it's about understanding human behavior, timing, and learning from mistakes. Book 4, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and Barack Obama have all recommended this book. Zuckerberg made it his book club selection and discussed it with his family. Why this book for children? Well, teenage children. It teaches systems thinking. Understanding that money, corporations, and nations are all human-created fictions that we collectively believe in is revolutionary. When Zuckerberg talks about building the metaverse, he's essentially trying to create a new shared fiction, and Sapiens provides the framework for understanding how humans create and adopt new realities. Gates noted that it helped him think bigger about Microsoft's role in human progress, not just as a tech company, but as part of humanity's evolutionary story. Book 5, Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. This might surprise you, but multiple wealthy entrepreneurs, including several from the oil and real estate industries, give this book to their children. It's about a boy, his 2 dogs, and hunting in the Ozarks. The reason? Grit. The protagonist saves money for 2 years to buy his dogs, doing every odd job imaginable. He trains them relentlessly. When tragedy strikes, he learns to cope with devastating loss. One Texas billionaire oil man was quoted saying he gave this book to his son because I needed him to understand that wanting something badly enough to work for it is more valuable than inheriting it. The book teaches delayed gratification, persistence, and emotional resilience in the face of loss. Book 6, The Outsiders by William Thorndike. Warren Buffett recommended this book publicly, and several wealthy investors have made it required reading for their teenage children who show interest in business. It profiles 8 CEOs who massively outperform the market, not through glamorous innovation, but through disciplined capital allocation. What's powerful for young readers is that these CEOs weren't famous. They were outsiders who thought differently. One hedge fund billionaire said he gave this to his daughter with a note. Success isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the clearest thinker. The book demonstrates that conventional wisdom is often wrong, and that independent thinking beats following the crowd. Book 7. The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. This one appears on multiple billionaire reading lists for their young children, though it's controversial. The book tells the story of a tree that gives everything to a boy throughout his life. Why do wealthy parents choose this? Because they worry about raising entitled children. Elon Musk has spoken about not wanting his children to think wealth makes them superior. The Giving Tree can be read as a cautionary tale about taking without appreciation, or about the nature of unconditional love and sacrifice. One billionaire philanthropist noted, she reads this with her children and then asks them, "Are you the boy or the tree? Because you have the resources to be the tree for others." Book 8. Einstein, His Life and Universe by Walter Isaacson. Steve Jobs was known for admiring Einstein, and this biography by Isaacson, who also wrote Jobs' biography, has become popular among wealthy tech founders to share with their children. The reason is powerful. Einstein failed his university entrance exam. He was considered a mediocre student. He worked as a patent clerk when he developed his theory of relativity. The message for children of privilege is clear. Credentials don't determine destiny. Curiosity and persistence do. Jobs himself dropped out of college, and he wanted his children to understand that formal education and intelligence aren't the same thing. Book 9. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Yes, the irony isn't lost here. Billionaires giving their children a book about becoming wealthy. But here's what's interesting. They don't give it because of the get-rich-quick schemes. They give it for one core concept: assets versus liabilities. Mark Cuban has mentioned the importance of financial literacy, and this book teaches young people to think about money differently than traditional schooling does. The key lesson: understand how money works before you have a lot of it. One real estate billionaire said he gave this to his teenage son with highlighted sections, specifically the parts about learning from failure and understanding that financial education doesn't come from schools. Here's what connects all these books. None of them are about getting rich. They're about thinking differently, building character, understanding failure, and seeing the world clearly. Billionaires understand that wealth without wisdom creates entitled children, not successful ones. These books plant seeds of curiosity, resilience, and independent thinking. Because the real inheritance isn't money, it's mindset. What book would you add to this list?